Hello and welcome to the third in this series of Django screencasts called Django from the Ground Up. In this episode, we will be setting up our models with the admin so that we can explore them and make sure that they're correct. And then we're going to be creating some convenience functions for working with our models and actually some advanced functionality so that we can hook fairly deeply into Django and provide some convenience for working with our event objects and lists of our event objects. But first, let's go back to working with the admin. Sort of the canonical way of adding models and changing the functionality of the admin is to first create an admin.py file underneath an app directory. So in this case, we're going to go into events and we're going to add an admin.py. And right now that has nothing in it, so let's explore it right now. The first thing we want to do in this file is to do from django.contrib import admin. Now admin comes with a predefined sort of a standard site, and you can actually have multiple admin sites, but what we really worry about in this screencast is just attaching our model to the default admin site. And the default admin site lives at, you guessed it, admin.site. And what we want to do is we want to register our model with with this particular admin. So our model is called event. Now first we have to import that event, so from events.models import event. And also we can optionally add an attendance model as well. So let's go ahead and do that. From events, well, actually let's just put it here. And then down here as well, we'll do admin.site.register, and we'll put attendance in there. Now, one of the things that we could do is we could actually provide some more functionality by registering a model options or a model admin subclass, but we're not really interested in that here because we're just looking to sort of explore our models themselves. And that's pretty much it, because if we go back to our URLs file, we already noticed that admin.autodiscover is already being called, and that will actually go through all of the app directories looking for these admin.py files. So the fact that we've added that is basically all we need to do. So let's switch over to our terminal here. Let's go back to the main directory and let's do python manage.py and we'll do run server. And hopefully everything works out correctly and we can start up the server. And then when we go here, we'll open up our web browser and we'll go to 127.0.0.1:8000/admin. And as we can see, we've got a username and password login, which, if you remember your username and password that you created when you first ran syncdb, you can use that here. So, just like we expected, we have attendances and events. And both of those are listed under the admin, and if we click on any of those, we notice that there's nothing there, which is to be expected because we haven't added anything yet. Now, if we want this to not be attendances, if we want it to be attendance, we can switch back over to our models file, and we can add some metadata about this file. So in this case, that's the sort of thing that would bug me, and so I'm going to add some metadata. We're going to add class meta, and you can choose whether to make this a new style class or an old style class. It doesn't really matter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say verbose name plural equals attendance. And if we switch over back to our admin view here, we'll notice that that switches over. So we're just giving it a little hint to say, when you're talking about multiple copies of this, use the word attendance, not attendances. So if we go into events and we click on add, we'll notice that there's a description field, and then there's a date and a time that's automatically filled in based on datetime.now. And then there's a start date that we can optionally fill in with no default. And finally, there's a creator. And since there's only one person in the system, me, there's only one person in this dropdown. And latest, since that's defaulted to true, is clicked as well. So I'm just going to add an event, and I'm going to say going to my friend's birthday party at 6:00 p.m. And I'm going to go and click save. and it looks like there's an error because I forgot to add Flow, which it caught for me, thankfully, and I'll click Save again. So now I'm going to add another event, and let's say that I'm going to say going bar hopping right now. And I'm making the start date and end date right now. And I'm also going to click here and hit save. Now if we go into bar hopping right now, we'll notice that latest is set to true. However, if we go to my first event, we'll notice that latest is no longer set to true. So that was sort of very informal testing to make sure that what we were attempting to do here with our update save method actually worked correctly, and we see that it did. Now, one of the things we notice with this update method, or this subclass save that calls update, is that we're querying for a start date and an end date that match with the beginning and the end of today. Now, that's sort of a lot of code, and I have a feeling we're going to want to do this a lot. We're going to keep on having instances where we want to query for just today's events. So, let's make that easier. The very beginning of what we want to do for that is to actually extract out the date time resolution to get the beginning and end of today. So let's just write a today method, which takes no arguments and simply returns, if we do this, returns a start and an end. So now we've got a function that gives us the beginning and end of today no matter where we are. But let's even make that, and so we're gonna make some modifications here. For right now, all we can say start end equals today, and that will allow this to continue working. But what we want to do is even a little bit more. When you do event.objects, as we do down here, you're getting what's called the default manager. And that has a lot of great functionality for the default things that you want to do. But if you want to add functionality to it, you have to subclass that and create your own manager. So we're going to create a manager called event manager. And we're going to subclass manager. And in that, we're going to do a def today. And what that will do is it will self.filter, or I'm sorry, it's going to do self.get query set, and that gets us our very first query set. And then we're going to do dot filter, and then we're going to say creation date range equals today. Very simple. So now this code down here can switch to being, instead of saying all of this stuff, we can say objects.today, and then we can filter from there. So we get to get rid of a lot of this code here, and we can even get rid of our call to today. Here, let me make this a little bit more clear by making that go on the second line. So we're calling all of the objects for today, and we're filtering on that to find the latest is true and the creator is self.creator. However, the one thing we haven't done yet is we haven't added this event manager to this event. So what we need to do is we need to say objects equals event manager. And Django will figure out how to make that correlate and figure out everything for you. So all you had to really do was subclass event manager and set that equal to objects. But I think that we even want to take this further. When I have an arbitrary query set full of event objects, I want to be able to call the today method on that and have it filter out everything that didn't occur today. So what I actually am going to do now is create a custom query set that has the today filter on it. So the way to do that is we're going to make an event query set. Event query set. And that's going to subclass query set. And for right now we're going to put pass, but up here we actually need to import it. So that's from Django.db.models.query import query set. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to do def to today, and then under that we're going to have, we have to make sure we take in self. return self.filter creation date range equals today. And there we go. That's very simple. But how do we get our event manager to return our event query set? Well, it's pretty simple. There's a function that we've already used called getQuerySet, and we're going to say getQuerySet, and that will take in self. And all we have to do is return event query set with self.model. A self.model is automatically populated with the current model that you're attached to. In this case, it will be event. So now we can even simplify this down further. Our today method is just going to be today, because now that functionality is implemented up here. So if we scroll down here, this has even gotten easier. Actually, it's not. But what we can do now is we have our filter here. We could choose to filter later. After that, we could say after our current filter, we could say .today. So basically, we've just expanded the functionality of our event query set. So here comes the moment of truth. Here is I'm actually going to start creating some more objects in the admin and ensure that it works. First, I know it's not necessary, but I like to just restart the server after doing some fairly major changes like that. And there's absolutely no reason to do that, but I do it anyways. So let's click on Home, and it looks like we're still running, so I have no syntax errors. And let's click on Events, and right now we show that bar hopping is still the latest, which is what we want. So now I'm going to say, let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to say recording more screencasts. And that will be me again doing that. And I'll hit save. And it looks like, again, we had no syntax errors. So if we look at bar hopping, we're no longer the latest. And recording more screencasts is set to the latest. So we are absolutely set to go. And we also have all of the expanded functionality that we added by creating our own query set and getting that query set by using our own custom manager. And as you can see, I think a lot of people are sort of scared of this, but it's really great to be able to add functionality very easily and quickly. So that's the end of this screencast. In the next screencast, we're going to start setting up our views.